Marcus Weaver had everything a man was supposed to want. That was what people told him anyway. That night, under the golden lights of the Grand Meridian Hotel ballroom, they said it again and again while clinking champagne glasses and patting him on the back. Man of the hour. Visionary. Built the best team in the industry. Your family must be so proud. Marcus smiled through all of it with the practiced grace of a man who had learned how to accept praise without looking desperate for it. His software development team had just won the prestigious Wexler Innovation Award, the kind of recognition that changed careers, secured funding, and made competitors suddenly interested in partnership. On stage, Marcus had stood beneath the lights while his team cheered behind him. He thanked investors, mentors, colleagues, and the brilliant people who had helped turn a risky idea into something powerful. He did not mention his wife, Elena. Not because he didn't love her. He simply forgot. Later, when he stepped away from the noise to call home, she answered on the third ring. "Congratulations," she said softly. He smiled. "You watched?" Of course I watched. There was something in her voice. A quietness, a distance. The kids? They fell asleep before your speech. Ah, he loosened his tie. I'll show them tomorrow. A pause. You're still coming home tonight? Yeah, I'm leaving soon. Marcus, it's pouring. I'll be fine. You always say that. He heard the weight beneath the words, but chose not to pick it up. I'll be careful, he said. You forgot us in your speech. The sentence hit him harder than he expected. He looked back through the ballroom doors at the laughing crowd, the cameras, the trophy gleaming on the table. Elena, I'm not trying to ruin your night. You're not. I just wanted to hear my name once. He closed his eyes. I'm sorry. I know. But she didn't sound like she knew. She sounded like someone who had accepted apologies the way people accept rain. Inevitable, inconvenient, and impossible to stop. I'll see you soon, he said. Please drive safe. I will. Marcus ended the call, stared at his reflection in the dark glass, and told himself he would fix it tomorrow. He always told himself that. Tomorrow he would take Elena to dinner. Tomorrow he would spend real time with Noah and Lily. Tomorrow he would stop checking emails at the table. Tomorrow he would become the husband and father he kept promising to be. Outside, rain fell hard enough to blur the city. By the time Marcus got into his black sedan and pulled away from the hotel, the award rested on the passenger seat, strapped in by nothing, shining whenever headlights crossed it. He drove north, away from the city lights, toward the wooded roads that led home. His phone buzzed twice. He glanced down. A message from his chief operating officer. Incredible night. Investors already asking about expansion. Call tomorrow? Marcus reached for the phone. Then something exploded out of the darkness. A deer. Wide eyes, wet fur. A flash of life in the headlights. Marcus jerked the wheel. The car skidded. Tires screamed against slick pavement. The award toppled from the passenger seat. The guardrail appeared too late. Metal shrieked. Glass burst. For one impossible second, Marcus felt weightless. Then the world dropped away. The car rolled down the ravine like a stone thrown by God. Once. Twice. Then it slammed against a cluster of trees near the edge of a deeper drop. Silence followed. Not peace, not calm. The awful silence after violence. Rain tapped against the broken windshield. Marcus hung sideways against his seatbelt, blood dripping into one eye, his left leg twisted beneath the crushed dashboard. Somewhere outside, far below, water rushed over rocks. The car creaked, shifted. Marcus opened his mouth to scream. Only a wet breath came out. His phone was gone. The road was far above him. No headlights passed, no voices called. His vision faded. The last thing he saw before darkness swallowed him was the award lying cracked on the floorboard beside him. Gold lettering smeared with blood. When Marcus woke, the first thing he felt was pain. It was everywhere. Sharp in his ribs, burning in his shoulder, crushing in his leg, pulsing behind his eyes. He tried to move and immediately screamed. The sound tore out of him raw and animal-like, echoing through the broken car. Rainwater dripped through the windshield onto his face. "Help," he rasped. No answer. He swallowed, tasting blood. "Help." The ravine gave nothing back but rain and the distant rush of water. He turned his head with effort. Trees leaned around him, tall and indifferent. Mud covered the windows. The car sat at an angle. Its front end caught against two thick trunks. Beyond the hood, the ground disappeared into a darker drop. The car groaned. Marcus froze. A few pebbles slid past the front tires and vanished. He understood then. He was not simply trapped. He was balanced. Too much movement, too much shifting, and the car might slide the rest of the way down. Panic surged. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." He searched for his phone with his right hand, fingers scraping glass, paper, leather, blood. He found the award first. Its base had split. One sharp corner had cut into his palm. He shoved it away. "Where are you?" he muttered. "Come on." His fingers brushed something plastic. The phone, cracked screen. Dead. He pressed the power button anyway. Nothing. He laughed once, a broken sound. The most connected man in every room was now alone with a dead phone and no way to tell the world he was still alive. Hours passed strangely. Time became rain, pain, breathing, darkness, light, and pain again. He shouted until his throat burned. He listened for cars. Once he thought he heard tires overhead. He screamed until black dots filled his vision. No one stopped. The road was too high, the storm too loud, the ravine too deep. By afternoon, thirst became worse than fear. He opened his mouth beneath the dripping windshield and caught rainwater one drop at a time. It tasted like metal and dirt. He drank anyway. Then came the first memory. Not like a thought, like a door opening. He was 26 again, sitting across from Elena in a small coffee shop, watching her laugh so hard she had to cover her mouth. Back then, Marcus had been broke, brilliant, and uncertain. He owned 2 dress shirts, 1 pair of decent shoes, and more ambition than patience. Elena had been studying architecture with paint on her sleeve and a pencil stuck through her hair. "You don't know how to sit still," she'd said. That a criticism? Observation. "I'm building something." "You're always building something." He smiled. "That's bad?" "No. But someday you'll need to learn the difference between building a life and running from one." He had laughed then. Now, trapped in the ravine with blood drying on his face, Marcus cried. "Elena," he whispered. He saw her standing in their kitchen years later, holding their infant son while Marcus paced with his laptop open on one arm. "Just hold him for 10 minutes, she'd asked. "I'm in the middle of something." "You're always in the middle of something." "I'm doing this for us." "No," she said quietly. "You're doing it near us." That memory hurt worse than his ribs. Marcus closed his eyes. "If I get out," he whispered, "I'll listen." The trees said nothing. The rain kept falling. Cold came after sunset. It crept into the car through the shattered glass and soaked upholstery. Marcus trembled violently, every shiver sending knives through his chest. He tried to free his leg once. The pain knocked him unconscious. When he came back, the world was black, not dark. Black. He could not see the trees, could not see his hands, could barely tell where his body ended and the wreckage began. He heard sounds, branches snapping, water running, something moving in the brush. His mind turned every noise into danger. "Stay awake," he told himself. "Stay awake." But sleep came in pieces, dragging memories with it. Noah was 6. Marcus stood in the doorway of his son's bedroom with his phone pressed to his ear. On the floor, Noah had built a crooked city from blocks and toy cars. "Dad, look," Noah said. "This is your office." Marcus gave him a distracted thumbs up. "Great, buddy." "And this is where you live." Marcus glanced down. One tiny block house sat far away from the office tower. "Why is it over there?" Noah shrugged. "Because you're always at work." The memory shifted. Lily at her dance recital. Pink shoes, nervous smile, searching the crowd. Elena had saved Marcus a seat. He arrived after the final bow. "Traffic," he had said. "A meeting ran long," he had said. Lily had hugged him anyway, but her face had already learned something no child should have to learn: how to expect disappointment and still pretend it doesn't hurt. In the wrecked car, Marcus pressed his bloody hand to his mouth. "I'm sorry," he whispered into the dark. "I'm so sorry." For the first time in years, there was no meeting to hide behind. No urgent call, no deadline, no applause. Just the truth, sitting with him in the crushed car. He had loved his family, but he had loved success loudly. He had loved them quietly, and maybe quiet love was not enough. Sometime deep in the night, he woke to the car shifting. A slow, metallic groan. The front end slid half an inch. Marcus held his breath. Pebbles scattered into the drop. The vehicle settled again. He stared into the darkness, afraid even to blink. "Please," he whispered, "not like this." Then, out of nowhere, he remembered his father. Marcus's father, Daniel Weaver, had been a good man in the way distant stars are good, present, bright, and impossible to touch. He worked construction, left before dawn, came home exhausted, ate dinner half asleep. Missed birthdays, games, conferences, school plays. Marcus had hated him for it. At 17, after Daniel missed Marcus's scholarship ceremony, Marcus stood in the garage and shouted, "I'll never be like you." Daniel had looked older than Marcus had ever seen him. "I hope not," he said. That answer had stunned Marcus quiet. Daniel wiped grease from his hands. "I hope you do better. I really do." Years later, Marcus had mistaken money for presents. He bought the bigger house, the safer car, the better schools, the vacations he barely attended because he spent half of them on calls. He told himself that made him different from his father. But trapped in the ravine, he finally understood. Absence wears different suits. Sometimes it carries a lunch pail. Sometimes it carries a laptop. But to a child waiting at the window, absence looks the same. Marcus groaned as pain rolled through him. "Dad," he said, though Daniel had been dead 9 years. "I get it now." Morning came gray and thin. The rain had slowed. His thirst was worse. His lips had split. His left leg had gone partly numb, which frightened him more than the pain. He shouted again. His voice barely carried. "Help! Somebody!" A bird lifted from a nearby branch and disappeared. By noon, the sun broke briefly through the clouds. Steam rose from wet leaves. Marcus tried to focus on staying alive. He inventoried what he had. Dead phone, broken award, one half-full bottle of water that had rolled beneath the brake pedal just out of reach, a suit jacket, a pen, receipts, a photograph tucked in the visor. He remembered Elena putting it there. "Something to remind you what you're driving home to," she had said. He had smiled then, kissed her forehead, and forgotten about it. Now he stretched for it with shaking fingers. Pain ripped through his shoulder, but he kept reaching until he freed the photo. It showed Elena, Noah, and Lily at the beach the previous summer. Marcus had taken the picture. He had not been in it. He stared at their faces. Elena squinting in sunlight. Noah holding a shell. Lily laughing with her hair blown across her eyes. He pressed the photo to his chest. "If I get back," he said, "I'm getting in the picture." By the second day, Marcus began bargaining. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, between shallow breaths. Let me see them again. Let me apologize properly. Let me make pancakes on a school morning. Let me sit through a whole movie without checking my phone. Let me ask Elena how she is and stay quiet long enough to hear the answer. Let me be there. He drifted in and out. Sometimes he was in the car. Sometimes he was in the office. Sometimes he was standing in his kitchen watching Elena cry silently at the sink because she thought he couldn't see her. That memory was real. He had seen her. He had also pretended not to, because seeing required action, and action required change. The worst memory came near dusk. Their anniversary. Elena had worn the blue dress he liked. Dinner reservation at 8. Marcus had promised. At 7:42, a crisis erupted at work. A server failure, a major client, millions at risk. He called Elena. I'll be late. How late? I don't know. Marcus, I have to handle this. No, she said. You choose to handle this. That's not fair. Neither is being married to someone who keeps putting me on layaway. He came home after midnight. She was asleep on the couch, still in the blue dress. 2 plates sat untouched on the dining table. A candle had burned itself down to a puddle of wax. Marcus had covered her with a blanket and told himself he was a good husband because he noticed she was cold. Now, in the ravine, he sobbed so hard his ribs screamed. He had mistaken small gestures for devotion. He had confused guilt with love. He had thought providing excused neglect. It didn't. Night fell again. The temperature dropped. Marcus felt weaker now. His thoughts blurred. He began hearing voices. Noah calling from the trees. Lily laughing somewhere down the ravine. Elena saying his name. Once, he answered. I'm here. But no one was there. Then the car shifted again, this time more sharply. The front tires slipped. The hood dipped. Marcus screamed as the seatbelt cut into him. The car stopped with a violent jerk. One tree still held. Only one. Marcus panted in terror. He understood that rescue might not come before the edge did. So he made a decision. With shaking hands, he took the pen from the console and turned over a receipt. Writing hurt. His fingers barely worked. But he wrote anyway. Elena, I love you. I'm sorry I made you feel alone while standing right beside you. You deserved better than promises postponed. He stopped, gasping, then continued. Noah, I should have played more. Lily, I should have watched every dance. I was proud of you both every day. I just failed to show it right. His vision blurred. If I don't make it, don't remember me by what I won. Remember that at the end, I finally knew what mattered. He signed it. Dad, Marcus, the man who loved you, even when he was bad at showing it. He folded the receipt and tucked it inside his bloody shirt pocket. Then he held the photograph and waited for morning. The third day arrived bright and cruel. No rain. No clouds. Sunlight poured through the broken windshield and turned the car into an oven by noon. Marcus's tongue felt swollen. His skin burned. Every breath became work. Flies came. He waved them away weakly. He no longer shouted often. He saved his strength for sounds from above. Most of the time, there were none. His mind became a hallway of doors. Behind one, his first date with Elena. Behind another, Noah's first steps. Another, Lily asleep on his chest when she was 3 months old. Another, his team cheering in the ballroom. That one felt different now. Not meaningless, but smaller. The award had been real. The work had mattered. His team had deserved celebration. But Marcus finally understood that success was never supposed to become an altar. It was supposed to be a tool, a way to build a life, not replace one. In the afternoon, he heard a sound. At first, he thought it was another hallucination. A dog barking. Then a man's voice, distant. "Ranger, come back." Marcus opened his eyes. The barking grew louder. He tried to shout. Nothing came. He swallowed pain and tried again. "Help!" A whisper. The dog barked frantically now, somewhere above him. Marcus grabbed the broken award with his right hand and struck it against the doorframe. Clang. Weak. Again. Clang. Again. Clang. The dog went wild. A voice called out. "Hello?" Marcus wept. "Down here?" Footsteps crashed through brush. A face appeared above the ravine, then another. "Jesus Christ," someone said. "There's a car down here." Marcus tried to laugh, but coughed instead. The world blurred. "Hold on," the man shouted. "We're calling rescue. Hold on." Marcus looked at the photograph in his hand. For 3 days, he had waited to be found. But somewhere in that broken silence, he had found himself. The hospital lights were too white. That was Marcus's first thought when he woke. His second was pain. His third was Elena. She sat beside his bed, her hair pulled back, her eyes red from crying. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Marcus tried to lift his hand. She took it carefully. "Kids," he rasped, "with my sister. They're okay." He closed his eyes in relief. "Elena." "Don't," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. "Not yet. I need to say it. You almost died. I know." "No, Marcus, you don't know what it was like. 3 days. 3 days not knowing if you were lying somewhere or gone or—" Her voice broke. He squeezed her hand weakly. "I'm sorry." She looked away. He knew then that an apology would not fix what neglect had built over years, but it could be a beginning. "I wrote you something," he said. "What?" "In my pocket, at the crash." A nurse later found the folded receipt among his ruined belongings. Elena read it alone in the hallway. Marcus watched through the glass as she covered her mouth and bent forward as if the words had physically struck her. When she came back inside, she sat beside him again. "I don't know how to trust this," she said. "I know. I don't know if fear changed you or if almost dying just scared you." "That's fair. I can't go back to how it was. I'm not asking you to." "What are you asking?" Marcus stared at the ceiling, then at her. A chance to prove it slowly. Elena studied him. "You'll have to miss things." "Work?" "Yes. I will. You'll have to disappoint people." "I know. You'll have to be ordinary sometimes." That made him cry. Because once, ordinary had sounded like failure. Now it sounded like grace. "I want ordinary," he said. "With you. With them." Elena did not forgive him that day. Life was not that easy, but she stayed until visiting hours ended. And when she left, she kissed his forehead. That was enough to keep him fighting. Recovery was brutal. Marcus had 2 surgeries on his leg, fractured ribs, nerve damage in his shoulder, and nightmares that woke him sweating. For weeks he dreamed of sliding, of metal groaning, of Elena's voice fading into rain. His company wanted him back quickly. Investors sent flowers. Reporters requested interviews. His team visited, emotional and sincere. Marcus thanked them. Then he did something that stunned everyone. He stepped down as chief executive. Not forever, he told them, but long enough to learn who he was without a title filling the silence. Some called it reckless. Some called it wise. Marcus didn't care. The first morning he was home, he moved slowly with a cane into the kitchen. Elena was making coffee. Noah and Lily sat at the table, staring at him like he might vanish if they blinked. Marcus cleared his throat. "I was thinking," he said, "maybe pancakes." Lily frowned. "You know how?" "No." Noah laughed. Marcus smiled. "But I'd like to learn." The pancakes burned. The kitchen smoked. Elena opened the windows. Lily declared them kind of horrible but emotional. Noah asked if they could try again next Saturday. Marcus said yes before checking any calendar. That became the first brick. Then came soccer practice, dance rehearsal, homework at the table, dinner with phones in a basket. Walks with Elena where he did not defend himself when she spoke of all the lonely years. He listened, even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. Change did not arrive like lightning. It came like physical therapy. Painful, repetitive, unimpressive from the outside. But slowly, strength returned. One evening months later, Marcus stood in the hallway and saw Elena in the living room with the children. They were laughing at something ridiculous on television. There was space beside them on the couch. For once, Marcus did not pause at the edge of his own life. He entered it. Almost a year after the accident, Marcus returned to the Grand Meridian Hotel. The Wexler Foundation had asked him to speak, not about innovation, about perspective. He nearly declined. Elena encouraged him to go. This time, she and the children came with him. Before stepping on stage, Marcus looked at them in the front row. Noah gave him a thumbs up. Lily mouthed, "Don't be boring." Elena smiled. Marcus walked to the podium with a slight limp. The ballroom quieted. He looked out at the polished crowd, the shining glasses, the hungry faces of people chasing the next big thing. "I used to believe success was measured by what people applauded," he began. "Then I spent 3 days in a ravine with no audience, no signal, no title, and no way to pretend anymore." The room went still. I had won one of the greatest honors of my career that night. But when I thought I was dying, I did not think about the award. I thought about my wife, my children, the moments I missed while telling myself I was building something for them. His voice trembled, but he kept going. "I learned that you can win in public and lose in private. You can be admired by strangers and still leave the people who love you feeling unseen. And you can have everything, only to discover you forgot to be present for it." He looked at Elena. "I survived that crash, but surviving wasn't the miracle. The miracle was getting another chance to become the man I should have been before the ravine." By the time he finished, no one moved. Then applause rose. Soft at first, then thunderous. But Marcus did not look around to drink it in. He stepped off stage and went straight to his family. Lily threw her arms around him. Noah hugged his waist. Elena touched his face. "You remembered us this time," she whispered. Marcus smiled through tears. "First thing I wrote down." Years later, Marcus sometimes drove that same road. Not often, not to punish himself, to remember. A guardrail had been repaired where he went over. The trees below still bore scars if you knew where to look. One spring afternoon, he pulled over with Noah and Lily in the car. They were older now, Noah nearly as tall as him, Lily with her mother's sharp eyes and fearless heart. "Is this the place?" Noah asked. Marcus nodded. They stood together at the roadside. Wind moved through the trees. The ravine was green now, softened by moss and sunlight. "It looks peaceful," Lily said. "It wasn't," Marcus replied. Noah looked at him. "Do you think about it a lot?" "Every day." "Does it scare you?" Marcus considered that. "Sometimes, but mostly it reminds me." "Of what?" Lily asked. Marcus looked at his children, then at the road, then toward home. "That being alive isn't the same as living," he said, "and loving someone isn't the same as showing up." They were quiet for a while. Then Lily slipped her hand into his. Noah did the same. Together, they walked back to the car. Marcus started the engine. This time, he did not hurry. This time, the road home was enough. If you enjoyed this short story, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.